In today's world, the young people have been dubbed the reputation of being very absorbed in their technology and not in the world around them. After now being a teenager under this reputation, I have been able to create my take as to why this theory is present in America. In the American education system, there is a created sense to strive to do the best on tests and do well enough in classes to get into college. This need to strive for college has only grown as time has gone by. Also, now there is an added sense of competition because everyone is trying to do the same thing, so everyone has to get sucked into striving to achieve the same things. Because of this, us teenagers are not advocates for ourselves to take action and speak out about the global/domestic issues we have learned about in classes. We are only worried about learning the material well enough to get an A on the test in order to get a good grade in the class, and ultimately, get into a good college. In addition, in my case, I was not aware of how I could exactly get involved in issues until I took my AP US government course during my junior year. Unfortunately, I was too busy in school, studying for the ACT, looking at colleges, and working 20 hours a week to actually get involved without falling behind in school. The only time we are involved in an issue is when there is a large event that affects the whole nation. For example, 9/11, the riots in Ferguson, the Sandy Hook shooting, and police misuses of violence were events that we were forced to look at and form a view on that issue. After forming my own views on the ongoing events currently happening, the two issues that I find to be very important are the global problem of terrorism and the domestic issue of gun control. These problems have shown up in the news more often than ever before. All in all, I believe that young people are not as involved in issues as they used to because of the newly found thought process of what you need to accomplish to be well off later in life. One of the biggest issues in the world is terrorism. As of late, ISIS has made the most noise in having influence through the media. However, terrorism has always been an issue. If it isn't ISIS, it was Al-Qaeda or the Taliban. This is why, in my opinion, terrorism is the biggest global issue that America needs to worry about. I feel that America needs to be a part of the prevention of these terrorist groups. These groups need to be stopped because they do not follow the world human rights standards. ISIS, for instance, tortures and kills innocent people from all different countries just for media influence. To face this threat, America does not need to use military forces by themselves, since there is plenty of other countries that would like to do the same thing. Terrorist organizations have already costed billions of dollars and thousands of lives. The issue I have with America's perspective on terrorism is that the American people only seem to care about these threats once an attack is conducted in our homeland. This is kind of a selfish way of thinking. A factor of this type of thinking includes the lack of political education of the American people. They are not caught up on current global issues until they are forced to pay attention to them when it directly affects them. The only way this problem can be solved is if the source of the problem is cut off. What countries have been doing is targeting sites where terrorist leaders have been located to try to contain ISIS. By taking out the ISIS leaders, recruitment and organization will decrease, and this will then lead to the rest of the world taking out whatever is left of the group. However, there will always be a group with an extremist ideology that will want influence. Therefore, there hasn't been a successful program to stop this because there is no way to stop extremist ideology, but when they start torturing innocent lives, that's when we need to intervene. Terrorism in the world has also had an impact in America. Gun violence has been linked to terrorist-sourced acts in some of the most recent shooting cases. This issue has raised many questions about how the government should act against this problem. Here in America, we have had our own problems. The biggest issue has been gun violence, and there has been many cases where guns have been used for violent actions. For example, the United States has had close to 33,000 lives lost to gun-related incidents since 2011, according to DoSomething.org. The latest shooting occurred in San Bernardino, California, where a husband and wife opened fire on a company holiday party. Events like these is what causes the nation to start talking about this issue. This is another issue the American people seem to only take notice about when there is a tragic event that raises questions on gun control. I feel that we, the American people, have the right to possess guns through the Second Amendment. Also, most of the mass shootings in the United States are carried out by a mentally ill person. For instance, the shooter who opened fire at Sandy Hook Elementary School was not mentally stable. Because of these factors, I believe that gun control is not such an issue. However, I feel the person with the gun can be a problem if a mentally ill person has their hands on a violent weapon. If there could be a system in place that would be able to locate the people with suspicious activity that would cause people to think they are mentally unstable, then we would be able to take the gun out of their hands and get them help at the same time before they are able to hurt others. One way we could do this is by tracking people enlisted in mental hospitals or partaking in major mental therapy and then checking to see if they are in possession of a firearm. If they are, then another step can be taken to determine if they are mentally capable of responsibly using their weapon. So far, there has not been a successful program to handle this problem, since these mass shootings continue to happen and take lives. President Obama has realized this and addressed the issue in the following speech earlier this month.
Our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped from college kids in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara and from high schoolers at Columbine and from first graders in Newtown. First graders. And from every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun. Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad.